in debt. My colleagues on the other side of the
gentleman, are you advocating defunding the police? That's who this is for.
What I'm advocating for is allowing the police powers of the states
to be comment requirements, and at least not officially, does not have the force of law, or at least shouldn't have the force of law. Yet we have.
Clip 1. What happened in Congress quickly turned into a heated clash over federal spending, police funding, and the power of the states. Chip Roy argued that Washington should stop using borrowed federal money to control how states handle law enforcement. He insisted that states should have the freedom to manage their own police departments and make their own decisions.
Position.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as agency heads have stated time and time again, guidance documents, general statements of policy, and other agency guidance do not have the force and effect of law, and the agencies do not take enforcement actions
appropriate, or it wouldn't happen, I can't remember the exact wording, for states to be able to take care of this particular problem. The gentlelady from Texas had an exact quote.
Actually, if the gentleman yield, the state of Texas just unanimously passed active shooter alert and signed by Governor Abbott.
Reclaiming my time. Great. My point is, the gentlelady from Texas was talking about the inability of states to carry out the law enforcement function. And the specific, as you literally said the quote, is why I got up out of my office and walked down here, as you literally said it. And my point is here we're talking about, federal spending, and the gentleman just said, well, Texas just passed this. Well, good for Texas, right? But we just act like there's this unlimited slush fund in this town to say we're going to go, there he goes again talking about spending. We're talking about, so $2 million, $50 million, $5 billion. Does it matter? Right, when we're $30.5 trillion in debt? My colleagues on the other side
the gentleman, are you advocating defunding the police? That's who this is for.
What I'm advocating for is allowing the police powers of the states to be able to do the job of the states, which is to police the states. Like, that's the whole point. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they go hide behind this and say, we're not defunding the police because you guys have some bill in here for a grant program, because the idea of the grant program is to then go micromanage what the states have to go do, because that's the purpose of what you want to do. You want to use the federal money, the power and the coercion of the federal government to go tell states what they must do. And you want to do it with borrowed money. You want to do it with printed money.
Would the gentleman yield?
Not just yet. You want to do it with borrowed and printed money, because that's what we do in this town. We go write blank checks because we want to go give a press conference about all the greatness that we're doing in this town, all of the awesome things that we're accomplishing. Meanwhile, you say, well, are they going to do this or not? Well, they actually have to make a tough choice, because they actually have to balance a budget. They actually have to decide, are we going to spend money in a school? Are we going to spend money on teachers? But in this case, what we do is we say, we'll write a blank check. And then my colleagues say, well, we're not defunding the police. But yet it is Democrats across the country that are clearly defunding the police. Austin, Texas, which I represent, $150 million slashed from the budget. People are waiting. They call 911. They can't get through. They're trying to get police. Police aren't trained. The very schools, the police are not actually being recruited now because we don't have the money to recruit them. Why? Because Democrats in the progressive, quote-unquote, oasis of Austin, Texas, stopped funding the police. I could go list by list here of Minneapolis cutting their budget, New York City cutting their budget, Cook County, Illinois, Portland, Oregon, Austin, Texas, Baltimore, Maryland, Los Angeles, California, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, all slashed their budget, cut police budgets. And now my Democratic colleagues want to say, oh, in our infinite
House Resolution 495, the gentlewoman from Wyoming, Ms. Hageman, and a member opposed each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Wyoming.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. The Separation of Powers Restoration Act, or SOPRA, is great legislation which I fully support. My amendment is simple and seeks to clarify that de novo judicial review applies to agency guidance as well as to agency rules and congressional statutes. Specifically, my amendment explicitly states that interpretive rules, general statements of policy, and all other agency guidance are subject to de novo judicial review. Unlike rules, guidance is undefined in the APA's definition section. Agency guidance consists of interpretive rules that explain how agencies interpret the statutes and rules that they administer, and general statements of policy that prospectively advise how agencies may choose to exercise their authority. Guidance is not subject to the APA's notice and comment requirements, and, at least not officially, does not have the force of law, or at least shouldn't have the force of law. Yet we have seen a growing trend of the administrative agencies attempting to use guidance to have the force of law, while at the same time avoiding even the APA process. For example, in my private capacity before being elected to Congress, I was part of an effort to push back on the Department of Agriculture's attempt to mandate RFID ear tags on the cattle and bison of our nation's ranchers. The agency tried to force this on the agriculture community through a 2-page guidance document that was posted to the USDA website. This circumventing of the congressional, legislative, and agency rulemaking process would have cost our cattle producers $2 billion to comply with this guidance, all without a single comment or public hearing. Further concerning is that guidance is often not judicially reviewable because agencies then claim that it is not final agency action. And even when it is reviewed, the government then asks for deference to the agencies by the courts. While the language of SOPR is implicit that the requirement for de novo judicial review of all relevant questions of law applies to agency guidance, my amendment would make it explicit. In closing, my amendment would clarify that agency guidance, which agencies routinely abuse, is subject to de novo judicial review under.
Roy pushed back against claims that opposing federal grant programs meant supporting police defunding. He argued that federal money often comes with conditions that allow Washington to influence state policies. His message was clear: America cannot continue writing unlimited checks while the national debt keeps growing.